It's 10 p.m. and you're watching Channel 5 KSDK St. Louis, where the news comes first. This is News Channel 5.
Tonight's Dateline NBC has a St. Louis connection, concentrating on a parasite in drinking water, which has been found before in the St. Louis area. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Gray, and for Rick Edlin.
And I'm Karen Foss. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our top story, a tiny parasite in drinking water that killed 100 people in Milwaukee last year, was once found in our area water supply.
Now, moments ago, you saw Dateline NBC explain the deadly effects of the parasite. On the Night Beat, News Channel 5's Ken Jones tells us what's being done to keep our water safe. Ken?
Yeah, Dan and Karen, what's being done, according to the people who purify our drinking water on both sides of the river, is more than what the federal government requires. Meanwhile, in Washington, the topic is water as well. The House has passed a bill aimed at giving states and municipalities greater flexibility in protecting drinking water. But the bill differs somewhat from an earlier Senate bill, and it's unclear if the differences can be worked out in the current session. The House bill would change EPA drinking water standards, especially for smaller communities, which call today's federal rules too cumbersome and costly. Dan and Karen?
Thank you, Ken.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, we can all agree on the need for clean drinking water, but another health issue is much more controversial tonight. A federal panel has recommended that the government end its ban on funding of human embryo research. But as News Channel 5's Sarah Harlow shows us, the guidelines the panel recommends divide the medical community.
What exactly can scientists learn from studying a group of cells just weeks away from forming a fetus? Even though there are many opposed to embryo testing, there are others who favor it because of its scientific benefits. In St. Louis, Sarah Harlow, News Channel 5.
Now, a National Institutes of Health committee will further study embryo testing when it meets in December.
One final health note, a new study tonight shows a little alcohol may do a lot of good for your heart.
And here's what else is happening tonight. The St. Louis City Workhouse is at the center of a rape investigation. 2 female inmates claim they were raped by a male inmate yesterday. The case will be turned over to the Circuit Attorney's Office. Well, police in Texas have now officially charged a 14-year-old boy with killing a girl who just moved to the Dallas area from Edwardsville, Illinois.
The town of Vienna, Missouri is saddened tonight after saluting an officer who died in the line of duty. Marys County Sheriff Roy Bassett was killed last Friday in a shootout near Vienna, about 100 miles southwest of St. Louis. About 1,000 people turned out, more than twice the town's population.
4 St. Louis City police officers are under indictment tonight, accused of beating an unruly prisoner. The alleged beating reportedly took place last month at the Area 1 sublet station. The head of the Police Officers Association says officers often have to deal with combative prisoners.
Is it likely that they were attacked in the holdover and had to defend themselves from a violent prisoner? Most definitely.
Now, Chief Harmon admits this has not been a good year for his department. 20 other officers have been indicted on charges ranging from shaking down suspects to stealing from a housing project. Some still remain on the job. Well, News Channel 5 has learned that St. Louis police commissioners will take up the knotty issue of police residency tomorrow. Now, under a plan being discussed but not approved, officers with 10 years on the force would be allowed to move outside the city.
Tonight, St. Louis police are not amused by a stunt by a morning radio team hoping to capitalize on the city's football madness. The city of St. Louis spends more than $200,000 a year to replace stolen and vandalized street signs.
Missouri Attorney General Jay Nixon says an Ellisville auto dealer will pay $56,000 to settle a consumer lawsuit.
Tonight, some area car dealers report all the business they can handle, perhaps too much. Some car lots at St. Louis dealerships are almost empty. Nationally, auto sales are up more than 9% over last year. But the increase in car sales is creating some problems tonight for the nation's largest automaker. 11,000 GM workers walked off the job in Flint, Michigan. And if the strike continues, other plants could be idled within 48 hours.
Well, long working hours are hard on fathers trying to maintain a family life. Most dads have too many things to do and not enough to do all of them well. But as News Channel 5's Catherine Kiefer reports, help is available.
What comes as second nature for Jerry Pence is much more difficult for others, especially new fathers. But there is help available. Catherine Kiefer, News Channel 5.
Now, more dads could soon benefit from the Parents as Teachers program. Today, the U.S. Senate approved $10 million to expand the Parents as Teachers program nationwide. Tonight, the bill awaits President Clinton's signature.
Other stories we're following tonight, the O.J. Simpson trial. It's proceeding at a pace which surprises even the judge.
Also behind the pomp, there are troubles straining our new relationship with Russia tonight.
But first, an offer the U.S. Army hopes the Haitians cannot refuse. Will cash for guns defuse the country's crisis?
We saw some sunshine today. There is more on the way. We'll have the 5-day forecast taking us into the beginning of the weekend a bit later.
And I'm Mike Bush. Coming up in sports, can opening day be saved in hockey? We'll have the latest. Plus some devastating news tonight for the Missouri basketball team. Those stories and more, but only if you stay up and stay tuned.
You're watching News Channel 5 at 10 with Karen Foss, Rick Edlund, John Fuller, and Mike Bush. And on the night beat, Deanne Lane, Dan Gray, and Ken Jones.
Well, we're into that very changeable weather pattern as we slip into autumn, and today we saw a little sunshine, a little overcast. What's tomorrow?
It looks like we're going to see more sunshine tomorrow, a few clouds here and there, but in general, the rest of the work week is looking pretty nice, and even the weekend's not looking all that bad. Pleasant temperatures, about 80 degrees on Sunday, just an itty-bitty cooler day with temperatures about 77 or so. Looks like a pretty nice weekend all in all.
Sounds wonderful. Thanks,
Yes.
Scott.
Well, as Mike Bush mentioned earlier, some devastating news tonight for the University of Missouri basketball team. Mike will have that story next in sports.
And we'll have the latest on the fight between NHL players and owners. Things don't look good. Stay tuned for Mike.
Bush joining us with sports. Some tough news for Tiger basketball.
What a shame. There's no telling what this guy could have done this year. Ouch. That's what Kelly Thames must have been saying yesterday, and that's what Norm Stewart has got to be saying tonight. Leading off tonight, the Missouri basketball team loses a star player. Kelly Thames was the Big 8 Freshman of the Year last season. The forward out of Jennings High School started 31 games and averaged 12 points and 7 rebounds a game. By this time next week, Fans Incorporated hopes to be in Los Angeles to make the pitch that they hope will eventually bring the Rams to St. Louis. And if the Rams would come here, so would Jackie Slater. That's what the 19-year Ram veteran told us Sunday in Kansas City. And several golfers told our Trey Wingo that the gallery at today's shootout was the biggest they'd seen all year, and that includes the U.S. Open and the LPGA Championships. Wow. So that says a lot for St. Louis golf fans.
You bet. The big crowd also wants to know, how do they do that?
How do they do that?
We got to find out. Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
We'll be right back.
There you go. Congratulations to Mike and to Karen and to
all of
Deanne.
us.
And by the way, Mayor Freeman Bosley was named St. Louisan of the Year for the second year in a row. So congratulations to the mayor.
Bonus check?
I guess, yeah, your bonus check's in the mail, pal.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, it might arrive sometime. That's News Channel 5 at 10. From all of us, take care.
Have a good night.